Big Nate, the Big Nate Streaming Circus. That's right. Bringing it full in effect right here, right now, in the mobile studios. Black Lady's ready to roll. She's always ready to roll. Just whether or not I'm ready to roll. So here we go. So I've come to the conclusion after the first year of the Republican order, under the guise of President Donald J. Trump. J. Trump. Donald J. DJT. Look, say what you will about the man. I've said plenty. You have your own opinions. Fine. Whatever. I'm over it. Okay? He's going to be what he is. So, here's what I've got a problem with. The Democratic Party, the far left and somewhere in between, to the middle line, for years, you guys have pushed your liberal agenda on America, which you thought was in the best interest of America. But what you don't understand is that you only had 50% of the majority. So you alienated a lot of those middle people, the swing voters, which is why you lost the election. You didn't have a clear plan after Biden. Biden wasn't the clear and best choice, obviously. I think if people had the choice of taking 8 years complete of Donald Trump and just be done with him, they would have been ready for a Democratic leader to step up and maybe help correct some of the issues that they came up with. Do I think that Doge would have been a problem? He had 4 years to plan for his reelection. He had 4 years to make all these things happen that are happening now. To where if he just would have had the office for the complete 8 terms, he might not have done as much damage. Because he wouldn't have had control. You see where I'm getting at here? But because the Democrats had control and they were pushing their agendas down the Republicans' throats, they got sick of it. They got alienated. You guys forced your viewpoints on them so radically that there was no discussion. They did not have a chance to rebuttal and not succumb to your liberal agenda. Which brings us to the present day. The Republicans have all the power. Whether the Democrats like it or not, you're screwed. Okay? Now, there are some things that are going on to where Democrats are starting to make little tick marks in the wall that is the Republican Party now. The Republicans' own actions are starting to make tick marks on the other side of the wall. So, what I don't understand is that would you be willing to give up some of those liberal movements? Like, children shouldn't be making decisions on their sexuality until they become legal age. You don't marry them off until they're legal age. So now you have to define what that legal age is. Is it 17? Is it 18? Is it 21? There are scientific things that are proven that the adolescent brain does not stop growing and receiving information in a way that they can't emotionally detach themselves from, probably ever. Okay? So making a life-changing decision at 10, 12 years old about whether or not you want to be a boy or a girl, that still has to be, you take your time. Pump the brakes. You guys are pumped full of hormones naturally, all right? I'm not saying they don't have the right to choose whatever gender they want to be and represent themselves as. All I'm just saying is don't start cutting off bits and sewing up bits until they can make the adult decision to do it. Oh, but it's easier when they're adolescents, so you can get the gene therapy in there. Tough. Sorry. You just don't do it. It's not ethical. Taking that teaching and putting it into our public schools, not needed. There's enough social media out there. There are enough people pushing for it in the open space that in an enclosed space like public schools, you do not need representation. All right? If you want to go to a private school that has those faculties, great. Okay? Just like if they were religiously bound to it, and they had like a Catholic school, and the kids had to, go to church and stuff like that. That's on the parents to decide. Okay? Now, if a parent wants to take them to a liberal school where they have, multiple genders and they have gay rights and everything on the display, that's up to that parent to make that decision, but minus the surgeries and stuff. You got to wait. Just wait. It's not going to kill the kid to grow up naturally and then make a decision, hey, it's not that big of a deal to be a guy who wants to be a girl, and let them figure it out, okay? If that's what he wants or she wants, great. I don't have a problem with that. And if they want to change their actual gender instead of just changing their social status from male to female or female to male, that's fine too. But don't do it when they're kids. That's the only thing I ask. And don't push it in a public school setting. Public schools should be like basically state operated or federally government operated, because they're funded by those things. There's a separation of church and state, and there's separation of sexual identity in public spaces, okay? Now, if you're an adult and you want to protest and you're a guy that wants to be a girl or whatever, great. I don't have a problem with it. But you're an adult and you have a voting voice. Children don't. All right? Consenting age for voting is 18. I think they should wait at least till then. Now, if you want to live in a state that gives the states certain inalienable rights outside of the government will say, okay, fine. States, you take control of this. You handle your own thing. But if you break the federal laws, you're not going to get funding for your schooling. Plain and simple. It's not that hard of a thing. You don't want religion in public schools. I don't want your liberal agenda in a public setting. You don't need it, all right? If a kid wants to identify, that's on them. They can do that, okay? But they don't need people outside of themselves, other than their own personal social group or their families, supporting them for whatever decision they're going to make, okay? Now, do they have rights to be protected? Sure. If they are going to dress up in a dress and it's a dude and a guy gets beat up at school, that's not okay. Okay? Okay? People that are straight and take violent actions against people that are not, that should not be condoned at all, ever. Violence is not this. Look, no one's saying you have to sit by that person at lunchtime. No one's saying that you have to take a photo with that person, all right? You don't have to socialize with them. There are people that are perfectly okay kids that get ostracized, and they don't even know nobody wants to sit by them on the bus. I'm a bus driver. Nobody wants to sit by them on the bus for what reason? They don't have a reason other than, they think they're weird. That's the same as bullying to me. All right? You should be able to sit on a bus next to somebody that you don't know, maybe strike up a conversation and get to know them. If you don't want to be with next to that person, then find another seat. But you don't need to discredit their existence because you don't think that they're cool enough for you. What is that? That's just bullshit. I grew up being the kid that was picked on, and I just accepted it. I mean, if somebody didn't want to hang out with me, fuck them. I didn't give a shit. I had plenty of friends. I made friends because I was outspoken enough to go out there and find the people that I wanted to be around, and the people that wanted to be around me. I have friends because I'm a good person, and they realize that. So, Democrats, don't whine, don't complain, don't bitch, don't moan. You created this situation. You started all this because you went so far off the rails with all of this BS that has nothing to do with the government, because you thought it was something. It was basically a trend. You guys get sucked into a social media trend. All right. Now, do people deserve to have representation and be, supported? Absolutely. But does that have to interfere with the other people that don't want to see it and don't want to deal with it? They have just as much right not to have to sit there and kowtow to it. Like, I have trouble. If somebody says, "Hey, I want, this is who I am." I have a friend, okay, and she is a female, okay, but was previously a male. But she decided that she wanted to be a female, so she identified as a female. But she told me this personally, like, to me directly. So now I know that this is what she would like. Even though they may look like a he or, talk like a he, it's how they want to be perceived. It's called being ethically correct. Okay? If I told you I wanted to be a Martian, you would say, "Oh, he's an alien from another planet." Then I get deported by ICE or something, whatever. I mean, they got space marines now. The fact is that I'm a large white male. I shouldn't feel ashamed of being a heterosexual white male in America. Now, does that come with certain privileges? Possibly. More than likely. That people aren't going to look at me when I walk down the street other than say, "Hey, look at that fat ass." I've had it happen. Man, that guy needs to go on a diet, or that guy needs to stop eating, or that guy has got some problems. Yeah, so what? It's none of your business, my business, okay? Now, I'm not going to compare that to being gay. I'm not going to compare that to being black, because those are things that not everybody does. They are the minorities in America, but they have just as much right as I do to live a happy, carefree, and productive life in America. The government shouldn't worry about what they do with themselves as long as it's not illegal. Just that simple. If it's not illegal, it's okay. So what's legal, what's not legal? That's a whole different thing. Now, if they start infringing upon your inalienable rights through that against the Constitution, then that's a big problem. All I'm trying to say is that people can get along with everybody if they just have time to talk about it. But because you guys, I'm not going to say you guys, I'm going to say the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have basically drawn these imaginary lines in the sand that they will not cross, leaving this, wasteland of inequity in the middle, where there's a lot of people that live there. All right. And we're not going to go that way because it just sounds stupid. We're definitely not going to go that way because this sounds even more stupid. So we need to find somewhere in the middle. So let's do that. Let's come together and try to find a way to enforce the rights of somebody that, put yourself in their shoes. I'm not saying you have to be them. I just want you to open your mind up enough to try to feel what they feel, because you're not going to know because you're not them. But if they tell you they feel a certain way and why they feel that way, you should respect that. It's just that simple.